Hi, John Czapko, Thrive Insurance Group. Welcome to our YouTube page. Today, I wanted to discuss 5 myths that small businesses have around commercial insurance and dispel some of those myths for you today. So in today's session, I wanted to go through 5 myths and dispel those for small businesses. The first myth being, I don't need insurance, I'm too small. I recommend getting it. If you don't want to work with a broker or an agent, go online. There's some online services. Next is a good one. Buyberk is another one that you can procure insurance through. Get it, start somewhere. If you don't want to work with a broker, go online and get it. And make sure you have that fundamental layer of protection in place. Start with a liability package, whether it's general liability or errors and omissions, depending on your business. Start somewhere and get that protection for you, for your business, for your family in place, and make sure you have that base layer level of coverage in place for your business. Make sure you have that protection. It's really, really critical you start somewhere. Number 2, general liability protects me for everything, and that's kind of a myth as well. Make sure you start with some sort of liability protection, whether it's general liability or errors and omissions, depending on your business. Kind of want to look at that. If you have a brick and mortar, start with general liability. It covers bodily injury and someone else's property, not your property. It covers that. If you have more of a services business, CPA, bookkeeper type of thing, you want to look at errors and omissions. That covers your professional liability. So there's some nuances there as to which direction you want to head. But start with a liability coverage and then build from there. It doesn't necessarily protect your entire business. You're going to want to look at errors and omissions. You're going to want to look at cyber. You're going to want to look at property insurance to cover maybe inventory or your building or different things within your business. So make sure you're working with your local broker, your local agent, to have a well-rounded resiliency plan in place for your. Number 3, business insurance is expensive. It's generally not that expensive. When you're starting out, you can get a general liability or an errors and omissions policy in place for under $1,000. We put forth a bookkeeper's policy this week for one of our clients. It was under $1,000, working with a fitness studio right now that does kind of cardio boxing. Their general liability policy is under $1,000 as well. They have about 150 members. So, frame a reference for franchisees that are in that space to get a rough range of magnitude there. So, they're generally not that expensive. Cyber liability, $500, $1,500, somewhere in that range, depending on your exposure, number of record size of your business, etc. So it's not terribly expensive, and it's a huge lever of protection. You get millions of dollars of protection for your business, for your family, for your legacy, if you have this policy protection in place. So make sure you're looking at that as well. The next one is workers' compensation. In Texas, where I'm located, we don't require workers' compensation. We do things a little differently in Texas, and it is what it is. So down here, we don't require it. Make sure you have the proper regulations for your particular state. Work with your local broker and your agent to have those things properly outlined. In Texas, we don't require it, but we really recommend it strongly for our customers. It limits your liability. It doesn't limit the amount of care that your customers or your employees, will receive. It limits the amount of liability and exposure you have from a business perspective. So it really does protect your levels of liability from a business exposure perspective. Make sure you put that in place. It's really critical to protect your business from exposure. It doesn't impact the level of care or ongoing care or any of that from your employee perspective. So it's really important to put that in place. And then the last one that I get a lot is for home-based businesses. Well, won't my homeowners cover my small business? And it generally won't. It's not certainly going to cover a slip and fall if anybody comes into your home for businesses. And it's not going to cover things like business income or inventory or things of that nature. So if you have a Amazon-based business or a online-based business, it's not going to cover those things. So again, work with your local broker or agent to identify the right path forward for your business. Even if it's a small startup business, make sure you're working with someone to have the right guidance and the right resiliency plan put in place for your business so that as you grow, you have the right steps in place to be protected from a legacy perspective, from a resiliency perspective, and from a planning perspective. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach us via Facebook, via email, via YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you're working with your local broker and your local agent. That's really critical. And if we can be of service, feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you for your time today. Thrive today, protect tomorrow. Have a great day.